today with a story, health-related story. So this is a court, a judgment from the Right Honourable Mrs. Justice Roberts from the Court of Protection. And this is on the matter of ST. We don't know who ST is, but ST is a female patient of the National Health Service who is extremely ill. And the question was one of the capacity to make medical decisions. And so the judgment says this: despite all the difficulties which currently confront her, ST is able to communicate reasonably well with her doctors with assistance from her mother and, on occasion, speech therapists. Over the course of the last week, she's engaged in 2 separate capacity assessments. I heard evidence from 2 consultant psychiatrists whose conclusions in relation to her capacity in both domains are set out in full written reports. And both those consultant psychiatrists said that this young lady had absolutely the capacity to make her own decisions about her healthcare and about her own illness. So if we bring that back on screen, the judgment goes on to say, she has been described by those who know and love her as a fighter. That is how she sees herself. She has told her doctors that she wants to do everything she can to extend her life. She said to Dr. C, one of the psychiatrists who visited her last week, "This is my wish. I want to die trying to live. We have to try everything." So absolutely clear what she wants. ST is well aware that she's been offered a very poor prognosis by her doctors. She acknowledges that they have told her that she will die, but she does not believe them. She points to her recovery from previous life-threatening episodes. While she's been a patient at the intensive care unit, she believes she has the resilience and the strength to stay alive for long enough to undergo treatment abroad, and she wishes the court to acknowledge her right to make that decision for herself. In my judgment, says the judge, ST is unable to make a decision for herself in relation to her future medical treatment, including the proposed move to palliative care, because she does not believe the information she's been given by her doctors. David, I wanted to get your thoughts on this because I thought this was a pretty obscene judgment in this case. We have someone who's quite clearly capable of making a decision about her own healthcare, that is quite capable, quite clearly determined to stay alive for as long as possible and to try absolutely everything to extend her life as much as it possibly can be. But because she's decided that she doesn't believe her doctor's prognosis, that she's at imminent risk of death and therefore needs to be put on palliative care straight away and wants to continue to try with healthcare, this seems like a pretty obscene decision.
Utterly. I mean, this is getting now to a point where the courts are coming up with decisions which were formerly in the realm of comedy. The old joke being, what's the difference between God and a doctor? And the answer is, of course, God doesn't think he's a doctor. The idea that the medical profession cannot be questioned, the idea that you are only there to obey their diktats is completely the reverse of everything that the medical profession ever stood for and the legal basis in this country for the delivery of medical care. And to see a court throwing all that aside with such abandon is deeply shocking.
Obviously we've got to see this in the context of the last 2 or 3 years, and particularly with respect to the potential for mandatory medication, including so-called vaccination.
Yes, and also in the situation where we have constant pushing by private members' bills and things at this stage, but it could go further than that, could become a government policy at some point for assisted dying. And we know from the Canadian experience that this is now being used to remove people whose positions are merely inconvenient for the state or cannot be readily funded.
And funding, I'm quite sure funding is a part of this decision as well. Well, David,